Hello guys, I am Agathor and welcome to a guide to bullet velocity. This is the first in a series of videos to help you understand exactly how damage is calculated in DayZ Standalone. By the end of this series you will know exactly how bullets fly through the air, react to different surfaces by penetrating or ricocheting, how different clothing reduces damage from bullets, and how different body parts take blood, health and shock damage from bullets. This series will stretch your knowledge of gunplay in DayZ and is a must watch for PvPers that want to effectively kill their targets. Moisten up your cerebral cortexes because I'm about to insert my large amount of knowledge into you. In each part of this series I'm going to be covering 11 ammo types, so the flares for the flare gun, crossbow bolts and the various arrows will not be included in this series. These 11 ammo types determine bullet speed, ricochets, penetration and damage. The guns themselves do not affect these four stats. Different guns only affect recoil, accuracy and rate of fire in DayZ Standalone. In knowing that, let's start this series off with one of the most important parts in this series, bullet velocity. Basically, the further you are from a target, the more the bullet you shot gets slowed down by simulated gravity and air friction. We don't need to consider wind speed or humidity, as these are not in DayZ and do not affect bullet velocity. Now what I'm going to attempt to prove in this video is that when a bullet slows down, the blood and shock damage received on impact is reduced by how long a particular ammo is flying for. Based on my previous experiments and my current knowledge of DayZ Standalone, I believe that blood and shock damage you receive from a bullet is based on the following factors: the stats of the type of round that was fired, the speed at which the bullet hit the target, the body part the bullet hit, and the level of protection that was on that particular body part, i.e. clothing. Looking in the game files, we already know the stats of the different types of ammo in DayZ, such as initial bullet speed and air friction. So let's look at how each ammo type is affected by the sum of its stats to work out the bullet velocity of each ammo type. I went ahead and tested each ammo type at 300 meters. We already know how fast each bullet travels at 0 meters. This gave me an idea of how quickly the ammo types slow down over distances. Using this data, I calculated the meters per second of each ammo type at 300 meters. The speed of the .45 round is 260 meters per second when leaving the gun, so it lost 23% of its speed over 300 meters, reduced to 200 meters per second. However, the speed of the faster ammo types in game are all losing around 50% of their speed in just 300 meters. This tells us that the faster a bullet is travelling, the more it is affected by the multiplier, air friction, despite most of these ammo types having close to the same amount of air friction. One of the rounds which is affected most by air friction is a .22 round, losing 42% of its speed in just 300 meters. Now if we compare that to the 9mm round, which has half the air friction and 7% less initial speed when leaving a gun, we can see that at 300 meters the 9mm round is only affected half as much as a .22 round. And this tells us that the bullet size or shape does not affect how fast a bullet slows down. This proves that only air friction and gravity affects bullet velocity in DayZ Standalone. Now that we know that, we can look at and compare the bullet velocity of different ammo types based on gravity, initial speed, speed at 300 meters and air friction. Here are the results, comparing a .22 round to the 9mm round with meters per second on the left and distance travelled in meters below. It's clear to see that the .22 round is drastically affected by its high air friction stat compared to the very persistent 9mm round. Looking at the .308 round, we can just see how exponentially slower it becomes based on its initial bullet speed. This goes for all rounds with high bullet speeds in DayZ, whereas bullets with low bullet speeds, such as a .45 round, slow down at a steady rate. One of the fastest rounds in game with the highest amount of air friction is a 7.62x39 round, with almost twice the air friction of the .308, but only 14% less initial bullet speed. The 7.62x39 round slows down at the fastest rate of all ammo types in DayZ, even becoming slower than the 9mm round at around 500 meters. While this info might be useful for timing your shots on a moving target, the real question is, how much does bullet velocity affect bullet damage when it hits your target? To test this, we tested the Sporter 22 at point blank, recorded the blood damage received, which was 683 blood lost, and then did the same test at 200 meters. The difference in bullet velocity between these two distances is roughly 31%. The blood lost at 200 meters was 479, so a 29% damage reduction than up close. The health lost in both cases was 200, so health is not affected by bullet velocity. Now, to prove that this didn't happen by chance and to confirm that bullet velocity directly impacts damage on a 1-to-1 ratio, we got a much more powerful round, the .308 round. At 300 meters, I lost 2,171 blood and 800 health, but at point blank, it's immediately clear that we're getting different results. I predicted that this would happen and had someone to bandage me quickly on standby. So at point blank, I lost 4,314 blood and 800 health, hence why I went unconscious. The difference between these two blood values is 49%. The difference between the .38 rounds bullet velocity at 0 meters and 300 meters is 50%, so a very close result there. All of these tests were carried out under very fair conditions, and I went as far as checking the numbers multiple times. It would seem that bullet velocity directly impacts blood and potentially shock damage that players receive over different distances. However, even though the .308 round loses roughly 70% of its velocity at 700 meters, it still manages to one-shot a player with one piece of chest protection in the chest. Whether this is down to health loss, spinal fracture, or there being a huge multiplier for hitting players in the chest, we just don't know at this time. So the best that we can take away from all of this is that the .22 round and 7.62x39 round becomes extremely weak over range, and always aim for the chest with high caliber rounds. Now, the reason we didn't discover this sooner is because we only just found out that bullet velocity is not calculated by DayZ's engine when a player is naked, with our previous tests of bullet velocity being conducted on a naked player. But seeing as most players out there will not be naked when getting shot, it's not that bad. The next video in this series will be covering bullet ricochets and penetration in DayZ Standalone with some pretty awesome results so far. Thank you for watching Rice and Peach's .22 round sniping, and I will see you in the next video.